Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wineman TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Program where we want to make you feel comfortable about your palate because wine is not a mystery, it's just a beverage. Today we're going to do 5 Merlots blind. And I know a lot of people like to see the blind format. It's kind of interesting. I know I like it. It challenges me a little bit, and of course people get excited when you do a blind one because they want to see if the lower priced Merlot comes in ahead of the higher priced Merlot. These are all Merlots from California. As I said in the past, my top 2 favorite spots for Merlot are Washington State and Bordeaux, right bank of course, and then I like Italy. California does some good Merlot. Excuse me, I'm going to get a pen. We need a pen to mark the bags. California does good Merlot. It's just not as consistently good as I've seen from Washington and of course the right bank of Bordeaux. Those things are ridiculously expensive. Yes, California does do good Merlot, and we're going to go through these. A lot of these Merlots that I'm tasting today are available at your average grocery store. So we're going to give them a whirl. Let's start off with number 1, and thank you to Penny from Dickerson Distributing who took the time to take all the capsules off, change corks around, bag the wines for me, and so that I could do this blind. I was going to have my wife do it this morning, but I forgot to ask her. She would have been more than happy to do it. But thank you, Penny, for taking the time to do that. Let's give the glass a rinse. And just so you guys know, you should probably rinse your glass before you drink your wine, even at home, because, you know, guess what? Could have detergent in it, could have some things that change wine. Just a little thought, just a little tiny rinse. I know it's hard to waste wine, so it's just an idea. Don't have to do it, of course. So let's see what we get on the nose. Classic cherry, a little vanilla. I even get a little bit of a stinkiness on this. I read an article recently about that bad things we say about wine that for good wines, and one of them was stinky. I thought that was curious because we do many times get a little bit of a stink element out of the nose, and it oftentimes doesn't come across in the palate, as I've said many times. Get a cherry, a little bit of licorice. I get a little rubber boot. A little bit of currants. I smell heat on the nose, not a tremendous amount of heat, or the alcohol creates that vapor or that sensation in your nose. It burns your nose a little bit. You know, pretty good nose. Nothing's really jumping out of me as classic, but it's definitely aromatic. I get a touch of tobacco. So let's see what we get on the palate. It's relatively thin on the palate. I mean, there's not a lot of things going on. I get a little currant and cherry fruit with a little black licorice element on the back end. You know, it stays pretty level from beginning to end. Has a decent balance. It is a little bit thin. It still has some nice cherry fruit, cherry and currant, little black licorice. Tiny little burn on the backside. Not a lot. I wouldn't say this is high in alcohol. That's what I'm guessing. Is it not high in alcohol? I'm thinking that maybe it's just a touch higher than normal. I see, because I'm getting like that, you know, when you have a Luden's cough drop, you get that coating on the back of the throat. Nothing exciting. Not bad though. I mean, it's not a bad flavors are there. It's just a little thin. It's thin on the finish. So, that's number one. Let's move on. Number two. Number two. So you can see we little crowded here today. There, we just labeled the bag number two. Let's see what we got on this one. Yeah, I'm going to take the capsules off because sometimes, you know, you can get to know some of these capsules on these wines you see all the time. Let's give it a little rinse. I know these are all Merlots, but, you know, they all have different flavor characteristics to them. Let's see what we get on the nose on this one. So I get a little herbaceousness on this, which I like. I get like kind of like a tomato stem, little tobacco, tomato stem, kind of perfumey. I get like a perfumed currant and cherry notes. Now perfumed, we say perfumey. In other words, the aromas pop a little bit more on your nose. That's what I mean by perfume. You know, there's a difference between, let's say, a classic example is vanilla. You smell vanilla, it has a really alluring smell. At least to me, I love the smell of vanilla. And then you have that perfume called Very Vanilla. That was really big back when I was a kid. And all the girls wore it. And but you know the difference. It's much more amplified. It's amped up on the nose. And that's what I'm getting on this one. But very interesting. And this is true of some Merlot. You will get an herbaceousness on the nose with Merlot many times. You know, this almost smells like a Cab Franc to me, which is really interesting. I like the nose on this. Good aromatics. So let's see what we get on the palate. Quite a bit more intensity on this one. I get a dark fruit, a little leather on the backside. It hits you a little bit bigger on the palate with this one, for sure. I like this one because it's just not like smooth and easy. I mean, there's some interesting things going on, in particular the leather. A lot of like currant, tobacco, cherry fruit, typical of Merlot. Has a nice long finish. I mean, it's kind of hanging around, you know, doing its thing. That leathery kind of almost a minerality that comes through on the back end. By the way, a quick shout out to Ari Hobble, who did this painting for me. He was watching one of my YouTube videos and he goes, "Hey, that was my guy. That was my paisano behind you." And I said, "Yeah, and it's going to stay there." I love that picture. Thanks, Ari, and thanks for noticing, and thanks for watching. Make a comment about your picture. I like this one. It's got a little spice in it, good minerality, good weight on the palate. Good length on the finish, nice balance. A little bit more serious, a little bit more in the old world, kind of old school category. And I get a little, just a touch of that herbaceousness, that vegetal action, which is not off-putting at all. Even for people who do not like that in a wine, I think you will be pleasantly surprised with this one. So let's, I'll give it a grade here. Okay. Not bad so far. Let's go on to number 3. So I'm actually shooting this episode on my lunch break from work. Monday's a busy day for me at work. I do all my ordering, or at least most of my ordering for the week. With the Super Bowl coming up, Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Got to put a little bit of thought into the beer ordering this week. So let's see what we get on the nose of number 3. Wow. This one's really stinky. Like, more than number 1. This one's a little more challenged. I get a little bit of like a vanilla cherry thing. A little tobacco. And you're gonna expect to get a lot of very similar aromas on these wines since they're all Merlot. Just a touch of herbaceousness, veggie action going on. Yeah, it's a pleasant nose. It's not as aromatic as the second one was, but let's see what we get on the palate. A lot of candied cherry. You get like that really candied, sweeter cherry fruit with a little currant thrown in there, maybe a tiny hit of licorice. It gets very thin on the mid palate into the finish. Yeah, it's definitely got this rounder, kind of nice, sweet fruit up front. Not a lot else going on besides that sweet cherry currant. It expands a little bit on the mid palate, so I'm going to take that back about thinning out right away. But then it does thin out. It doesn't have much of a finish. I'm just getting a little bit of stuff lingering around. This is one of those just average, everyday Joe Blow Merlots that you can buy. Don't feel like you're wasting your money. I'm going to guess this one's probably rolling in around $10 or less. Give it a little of that Jolly Rancher sort of cherry, little grape cherry currant thing going on. Yeah, it's okay. It's thin. It's average. It certainly doesn't do anything wrong. The nose was very interesting on this one. Okay. Move on to wine number 4. Give it a little rinse. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. I hope the weather isn't as terrible as they're projecting. So we can't always believe the weatherman, but they have been having some seriously cold weather back east. I feel bad for them. It is winter though, so we've kind of lucked out here in Washington State. I mean, I went running this morning. It was nice. I mean, it was nice. It was cold, but it wasn't that cold. Okay, let's see what we get on the nose with number 4. This one definitely has tobacco and currants all over the nose. It's not as perfumey. I get a lot of structure on the nose. It definitely has a leather element there. And I haven't, this one's, see, maybe you can kind of see it, medium. It's not super dark, but it's not super light either. Can you see that against the, maybe not, right there. Anyway. Get a little, there's a little bit of a mocha chocolate thing going on. Kind of a pretty, almost a black raspberry element. I'm liking the nose. It's a little restrained. Might have some oak on it, kind of holding back those aromas. Let's see what it does on the palate. Sweet fruit right up front. I mean, you get like this really nice currant and cherry really, really fruit forward, but not goopy. It's got a nice freshness to it. Let's give it another whirl here. You know, it's got some stuff going on. I would guess number 4 has a little more higher alcohol because I'm getting that little hit on the backside. It tastes a little riper to me. I think a lot of people are going to like this Merlot. It's got good depth. It's got some tobacco. Finishes with a little bit of spice. It's a little fatter than I like to see Merlot, but you know, I can't have everything, right? I get a tiny hit of like fakeness, you know, like a little touch of fakeness, like cosmetics or something on the back end. It's not terrible. It's got a little grippiness going on the back end, maybe a little minerality, maybe some of the, just a little touch of tannins, probably wood tannins, although I'm not getting a huge amount of oak on this one. Yeah, that's a interesting Merlot. It's a, it has a little kind of split personality thing going on where it starts out fruity and then it kind of turns into this kind of tobacco-y, mineral, little bit of tannin thing going on the backside. Still lingering in my mouth. Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to like it. It's a style of Merlot that, you know, you buy it, you can chug it down. Be great Super Bowl Merlot. Go with a lot of those foods that you have, those snack foods. Even Velveeta chili cheese dip, which I'm hoping, this is my goal, is Friday do a food and wine pairing episode with foods you would eat at the Super Bowl with certain wines. See how it works. I have consumed a couple of bottles during the playoffs. Wasn't really thinking about whether they matched perfectly, although I thought I did a pretty good job. One of the ones I did was a Syrah with the Velveeta cheese dip, which is my secret recipe. It's not really secret, but I like to call it. Number 5. See what we get here. So number 5, we get back to that kind of twiggy tomato stem nose. Definitely some vanilla mocha chocolate going on. Black currants all day. Has a nice aromas coming out of this one. Really, really big on the black currants. Like it's a big dose of black currants, baby. Let's see what we get on the palate. This is a crowd pleaser Merlot. A lot of black currants. A little bit of grape jelly thing going on the mid palate, kind of sneaks in there. A little bit of chocolate going on, not a lot. Yeah, it gets a little kind of weird at the back. I mean, it gets really grippy on the back end, so you get this nice polished fruit up front, a little tobacco, things going on, all of a sudden it goes grips on the backside. Might need some, might need to break out some of your ribs for this baby. This is an interesting Merlot because I think this is one of those kind of Merlots that might have a nice cross section of people. It's got the fruit for those who want a little bit of fruit on their Merlot. It's got that kind of grittiness on the back end, some minerality, perhaps some oak treatment that kind of shows up on the backside that some people might like. You know, it's decent Merlot. I like it. It has some interesting qualities. I think that some people might be put off by the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing that it has. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of that herbaceousness. Yeah. Okay, let's see where we came out. Let's line them up in the order in which I did. In first place was a number 2. There we go. In second place was number 4. In third place was number 5. And then kind of a tie for last place between 3 and 1. So let's see how they turned out. Let's do number 1 first. I actually like number 3 a little bit better. I was debating whether, no, actually it's the other way around, you're right. I actually like number 1 number 3 just a little bit better. Number 1 I thought didn't have much of a finish. It was a little bit thin on the palate. I got this rubber band so that it would come off. So, in last place with a grade of C, so just average, is the Cabernet Merlot 2011 California. It just says California, so that means they can get the fruit from anywhere they want to. So let's see. I'm having trouble with the screen. There we go. There it is. Cabernet 2011 Merlot California. Thought it was a little thin. It rolls in at $10. Where do you put all these bottles? Okay, in fourth place, I don't know about this one. I don't know about this rubber band thing. There we go. In fourth place, Grayson Cellars Merlot, 2012, Lot 6, California. And I thought this just had a little bit more going on than the Cabernet. And this rolls in at $10 also. So, you know, I think both of those Merlots would be ones that, you know, for $10, you know, they weren't terrible, you know. But they just didn't have much going on. Now, in third place, with those are both C's. So this one I gave a B-. Irony Merlot, Monterey County, 2011. Now, you know, I do like the Irony wines, and this one rolls in at $13. There you go. Irony does a good job. I think their wines are pretty good. This one had some interesting things going on. A little bit of, this is one that was fruity up front. Just out of curiosity, I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking for the alcohol. That always frustrates me. Just make it. This is 13.5, so the alcohol wasn't bad on this one. There you go. In second place with a grade of a B, Tangley Oaks Merlot 2009, Napa Valley. It says Lot 10. Okay. There you go, Tangley Oaks. And this one rolls in at $15. Napa Valley Merlot for $15. Not bad. I was impressed with this wine. I thought it was drinking pretty good. Showed a little complexity. I thought this one, the one that had a little heat on it, I believe. And let's see. 13.9. Not terrible. None of them really were that hot. I just, you know. And in first place, with a B+ grade, was number 2, Kendall Jackson, Vintners Reserve Merlot, Sonoma County, 2011. There you go, KJ, bringing it home. $18. I didn't expect that, actually, to tell you the truth, but very impressed with this wine. Good job. There wasn't really a terrible one in the bunch. There's nothing I could go, pfft, don't buy it. You know, the one that came in last, I thought it was a little thin. You know, it's $10. You could do better. Come to the store. I'll show you where you can do better for $10. Well, you can do better with the Grayson Cellars. There you go. Thanks for watching. It's Monday, episode 25. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're learning some things. And here's to keeping the snob out of wine. Have a great day.